Hey guys, welcome back to a song or story a day. It's me, the person who provides the song or story a day content. So, what I'm doing today is I'm going to be saying or telling you the story that I was supposed to tell yesterday, but ended up not telling. Then I told some other story about how I don't sing, or rather, why I don't sing when I'm sick, and that's what this picture is for. Up in the background. Let me see if wait, there, this picture. Hopefully you can see that. But I couldn't really represent it. Anyways, that's besides the point, okay? So today I'm telling the story that I was going to tell yesterday, but I'm going to tell it today. And that story is about the time I was in a crib, and then, well, you'll see. Now, before I tell this story, I'm just kind of thinking about why it is I'm telling these stories, why it is I imagine anybody would want to listen to them, other than maybe they're slightly entertaining. But there's lots of entertaining things out there, and I'm sure there are a lot of things more entertaining than listening to some random person on the internet tell you stories and sing songs about his life. So I'm going to have to think about why it is that I think this is worthwhile to watch or listen to. I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons people do anything, right? I mean, sometimes you want to listen to stories just because you want to learn about other people. I guess that's one reason to tell these stories and one reason to listen to them. I always try telling stories that tend to have a bit of a moral or a fable or some sort of life lesson in there. And I don't know whether or not that's beneficial. I don't know whether or not anyone really cares. But I think it's interesting that the stories that come to mind are usually ones that usually, you know, have some kind of lesson in there. This one probably doesn't whatsoever. I can make up a lesson. Maybe that'll be fun. But I'll tell you the story and you can be the judge of that. So, this is when I was very young. Okay, like I'm talking like toddler status. I was like younger than a kid. But I remember this very vividly. And it's something that my family can attest to. I promise it happened. But I was in a crib, and basically the crib I had like two, like at the foot end of it, there's like two kids. Like not actual kids, of course, like stickers. Not really stickers. It's like etched into the, maybe not etched, like painted. I don't know. It's like it's on the foot thing of the crib. Like if you're sleeping on the crib and you like just have your head up a little bit, you'll see the two faces, like the two kids, right? And I remember it was fairly late at night. Now, I don't know if it was actually late, just like it was late for me. Like, that's when I should have been sleeping. It was like sleeping time for me. And then I remember just being in the darkness. Like, the room was fully dark. There wasn't much light. There was a little bit of light because the family was still awake, and I don't know what they were doing exactly. I can't really recall that much. But I know that it was mostly dark, but I could see the two kids at the end of the crib. And I mean, the best way to describe it is even though I'd slept in that crib so many times, I got really obsessed with these two kids at the end of the crib. And I just kept staring at them. And at some point, it felt like they were staring at me. And I just kept looking, and they kept looking back at me, and I was starting to get really freaked out. Like, I had this inexplicable urge to like get out of the crib because I felt like they were going to kidnap me, they were going to take me away, they were going to do something to me that I didn't like, and I was positive. I'd never felt so scared in my young life, which is probably, it's not that much considering how young I was at the time. But I literally pulled myself up and then just jumped out of the crib and landed on the floor. When my parents came to see what all the ruckus was about, they just saw me on the floor crying. And my brother got the blame for it. Basically, they were saying, well, he couldn't have got out by himself. You must have picked him up and threw him on the ground or something, which makes no sense. Why would my brother do that? He's 9 years older than me. So he probably would have been like in his teens. Well, maybe not his teens, but like maybe 13, 12, I don't know, 10. Anyways, there's no way he would have done something like that. And more importantly, I remember what happened. Like, I know what happened. So, yeah, I jumped out of a crib. My brother got the blame for it. And I really disliked that crib forevermore. I basically semi-refused to sleep in it. And at some point, they basically had to do something a little bit different about it. Anyways, that's another story. So, what's the point of the story? I don't know. Does every story need a point? Does it make it more enjoyable? Does it make the content more digestible, more consumable? Is this even really content? Well, it's some sort of content. I shouldn't go that far. I mean, I actually do have a lesson for this story, even though it's completely made up, and not the story, the lesson. The lesson is completely made up, but it's still kind of relevant. And I think a lot of the things in our lives where it seems like the scariest or like the most anxiety producing or inducing or whatever it might be are usually things that we overthink about. Like I remember back to that moment, and I remember it's not like the kids were initially scary or anything like that, right? It's because I kept looking at them and I kept thinking in my head, like it was just spiraling out of control, like, oh my god, this is going to be the end of the world if I don't get out of this crib. But it took me a lot of not just thinking but overthinking to get there. And I don't know, I mean, I tend to look back at my life, generally speaking, and I feel like a lot of the things that I have let get in the way of me progressing or advancing or doing anything really is when I overthink it and I start to get these thoughts in my head of, like worst case scenarios or even worse than worst case scenarios, like unreasonable, unrealistic consequences of actions that I could take. And I think those are the things that really stick with you and really mess up your ability to do something. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I should have just gone to sleep instead of looking at the kids and thinking about it far too much. And I don't know. Maybe that's some sort of lesson you can take away from that. If there's something that seems a bit strange, or if there's something that you're planning on doing, don't overthink it too much. It's the fear of the unknown that usually gets to us. I think if we don't stop to think about all the spooky ghosts or horrible consequences that could occur, we can probably just go ahead and do things properly. It's not to say don't be careful. Obviously make sure what you're doing isn't stupid. But look, I don't have much of a lesson. I just wanted to share a story with you about the crib. Okay? The crib is gone. I don't know where the crib is. It's literally long gone. It used to be on my whiteboard, like the painting or picture. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the very confusing and messy video today. I'm slowly getting better, I think. I'm still kind of sick, but I'm hopefully getting back to singing soon. I'd like to do that. But anyways, hope you enjoyed the content, and I'll see you next time.